live has proven very difficult. Not because I don't know him, but rather because I'm struggling with describing such grief. March 2nd for me may well have been the day I was told that my father passed away, and I wept for the thought of losing him. I've been asked by one or two in the social media world not to be such an emotional mess about someone that you don't know. Being emotional about losing Dave Mackay has so much more to do about losing a person, not so much to do with losing a person that I didn't know, as it is about losing someone who personified the very essence for what I want Spurs to be and why I allowed them to choose me as my team. For me, more than any other player, Dave Mackay was Tottenham Hotspur. Being a newer fan of the club plays a part in this, at least for me. My mind is not congested with decades of lily white shirts running on a pitch with grayed out faces of forgotten players past. For me it's simple. Every player from the post-Bale era, and those I have seen and read about, and that's it. For players of the past, it's about singularly written and co-autobiography of players' lives and stories. I've read Bill Nicholson's, Ledley King's, Dave Mackay's, in the recollections of the real Mackay, co-authored with Martin Knight. It was this book and the folklore that followed Dave that made him my favorite player of players past, regardless of club or country. We've all been reading sentiments this week, or know of stories and stats mentioning his number of games at Hearts of Midlothian, Spurs, Derby, Swindon, and caps for Scotland. We all know he disliked the picture of him manhandling Billy Bremer, but we all know why it happened, and that Dave, for as a ferocious a competitor he was never dirty, even after missing almost 2 full seasons with broken legs. We know of the accolades showered upon him by his contemporaries, and that he was everyone's father's favorite player. This is not what this is for me. What this is from me is a call to arms in the memory of Dave Mackay, the Spurs players and fans, both present and future, that should follow his lead as the penultimate example of what Tottenham Hotspur is. It should be required that every captain of Spurs be required to know his story and how he led this club on and off the pitch. That every player should strive to work just a bit harder, that every one of their competitors to expect more of yourselves, to achieve the glory that you want as an individual, and hold yourself, teammates, and fellow supporters accountable for working as one entity to place Spurs where it belongs, at the top of the footballing world, as the example of what a football team is, as an example of what a football fan base is, and what a football club is supposed to be. Dave Mackay is simply the symbol of such commitment. Meeting him was going to be a dream of mine. I knew he wasn't well, suffering from both Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. To have found a way on my pilgrimage to Britain and White Hart Lane in May to make my way to his hospital bedside, hold his hand, kiss his forehead, and tell him thank you would have meant everything as a fan. And it was something that I wish I could have done. He was simply my favorite player ever to pull on the lily white kit. On March 2nd, unabashedly, I wept. That's it. That's what Dave Mackay was for me.
Wow.
In a nutshell.
That's a pretty moving tribute, Ken.
Fucking hell, Kenny. Whew. Well done. That's absolutely beautiful. Wow.
If that doesn't get the listeners misty-eyed, then I don't know what, because that was truly a moving tribute, mate. Well done.
That was remarkable. Thank you very, very much.
Fucking Kleenex.
Drink. All right. Happy notes. Where are we at? Let me get back. Some shout-outs.
How about them Bears?
How about that weather?
Wow,
listen,
Kenny.
Yeah, I know.
Well done, Kenny.
Thank you. You know, when Simon was texting me everything that happened, and I went on social media, and it was just exploding. I tweeted out to a number of people, and one of them being Ray Hudson, and I asked him to try to remember him, and I think once he finally got word officially that it had happened, he had done so, and I thanked him, and he DM'd me back. He said, with all my heart. And so I am very glad you let me know this, because otherwise I would not have known till tomorrow. And so there's a lot of people out there that this man, his history, his life, his legacy has touched. For me, this club is filled with legends, and to me, he is the legend of legends. And one day we're going to lose them all. That 61 team, we're going to lose them all. And I think at that point, they're going to go from becoming legends to gods in our minds.
Yeah, yeah. Look, it was the most, arguably the most romantic period of this club. And, it's an era that many will argue has gone by and will never come back again. And I think I share that romanticism that you clearly have. Those kind of values that a guy like Dave Mackay had can live on forever and can always, even in spite of all the money that surrounds the game now, can still live on. And when we talk about history, and when other clubs go, well, what have you done, in the last 20 it's not that. It's what you just spoke to, and I'm incredibly blessed to be a part of this, to hear what you just wrote. Thank you. It's just gorgeous.
Well, and for the people that don't know or understand, it's like, you guys are American. You've only been following for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. Listen.
It's remarkable what you just did.
You want to learn so much. You feel like you have 40 plus years of time to make up for. So you try to absorb everything like a sponge. And when you do that, listen, for me, I hear Simon talk about it, and this man knows more about Tottenham Hotspur than anybody that I will probably ever meet, and has forgotten more than I will probably ever know. And he even talks to the fact that he can't remember certain players that played during certain eras. And I don't have that congested history of, like I said, grayed out faces on lily white shirts running about a pitch. It's very fresh for me. Last year's squad, this year's squad, and what I've read and watched on YouTube and books. That's it. And there was something about him. It was the player I always wanted to be. It was how when I played football in high school and in college, that's what I always wanted to be. I wanted to be that tough as nails son of a bitch that nobody wanted to have anything to do with. And that was what Dave Mackay was. And that's why he was my favorite player. And it really...
He epitomized the anchor of a midfield. And, when I played, I would always play at the back. But, I played hard, and sometimes not always fair. But, Dave was... He was just that guy who was the rock in the midfield. And as a captain, when Blanchflower had moved on and retired, Dave took on that mantle because he knew what a captain's role was, and he just glided into that position. And there was nothing better for Spurs fans to see him lift the FA Cup in 1967 as that captain. And to Sam's point, it was a golden era, and any of our rival clubs will say you guys continue to hang on to the memories of 60-61 because that's when you last won the league, ha ha ha. Well, you know what, yeah, it is, but that was a historic team, much like the Invincibles have been lauded this past week on NBC. That team was the best team in England in the 60s. And no one can take that away from our history. Granted, yeah, that was the last team we won the league, and is that embarrassing for a club as big and as rich in history as Tottenham? I don't know if I want to say it's embarrassing, but it's something that probably every Spurs fan gets irritated when we are reminded of the fact, and we want nothing more than to win the title. Just a number of trophies over a period of time would make us a lot happier than probably what we are right now. We've been starved of success for a long time, and I certainly don't want this to be a case of reminiscing on a team that is 50-odd years ago.
Yeah.
But let's never, ever forget what they mean to the history and the traditions of this club, and what Bill, Nick, and all those guys did in paving the way for the rest of the future of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Amen.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliantly said.
Amen.
Sammy, you got any shout-outs?
You fucker, you've taken my breath away. You really have. I've been blowing up Twitter here because that
Wind is out of my sails, buddy.
Completely. I just and you know me, a man of a lot of bollocks. I am at a bit of a loss for words here. I need to kind of gather myself here. Wow.
Listen, we got a lot of people to thank this week, and we'll get those out on Twitter definitely.
Yeah.
To all the new listeners, if this is the first one that you're listening to, they're usually not this good. But you can go back and listen to the others. It's been a really rough week as a Spurs supporter to lose the people that we've lost. From a little girl who stole everybody's hearts on two sides of North London, and losing Dave Mackay, who is just the iconic figure, probably next to Bill Nicholson for me, about Tottenham. And so it's been rough. And to have the 6 points for number 6 this week was really special for me.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I probably wouldn't have caught that. That's very true. Very true.
Well, Simon, anything?
Yeah, we got a lot coming up over the horizon. We're going to hopefully have Brad Friedel on in a couple of weeks. I would like, I'm not going to do any shout-outs on this just yet, but I'd like to thank everyone who responded to the tweet I put out, I think, a couple of nights ago. I think one of the things we want to do, and it might be towards the end of the season, it might even be in the off-season before we take a break. I'm assuming we're going to take a break in the summer, right?
Yes. Unless there's like some shocking transfer news.
What are you talking about?
I am going to put together a little bloopers reel. Yeah, that's going to be kind of fun.
Well, most of it will be filled with your singing.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Or lack thereof.
Right.
I did ask for US-based Spurs fans a 3-question tweet. How long you been following Spurs?
Yeah.
Why do you follow Spurs, and if you've ever been to the Lane? And it wasn't a gotcha tweet in any stretch of the imagination. And I got about 25-30 responses, which was pretty phenomenal. One of the supporters clubs out there said, well, you probably want to tweak that towards non-expats. And I really didn't need to, because I think every response I got was from an American, or certainly someone who had been in this country for a long time and wasn't necessarily a transplant like myself. So there was a lot of interesting data from that, and I think we're planning to have a pod with probably some folks from various supporters clubs around the country, so we can have a discussion about that. So at that point, when we do that pod, I'm going to gather all that information. We can talk about some of that feedback that I got, and I'll shout out some of the folks that gave me some of the more interesting responses. They were all very, very interesting, very, very credible, and I appreciated the feedback. I thought I'd get maybe 2 responses, but even as late as today, I was still getting responses on that, so thank you for that. I also want to shout out to the Dallas Spurs. It's been a very trying week, and we all know why, and we're not going to bring it up anymore, but to see the support we had today back at Staggering Irishman, and thank you for opening up early for us again, TJ. But we had about almost 40 there today. Great support, more singing. I think, if anything, last Sunday the lesson learned was that we sing and we are a band of brothers, and all of you Dallas Spurs members and those of you who are not, that just want to hang out with us, I love you all like brothers and sisters. Thank you for your support.
Cheers. Yeah, definitely. I'm all for that. It's an extended family, and it's a brotherhood. So I love going. It's what I live for at this point. When on the weekends like that, it's just absolutely amazing.
And I'm not drinking Petticola's Velvet Hammer ever again at 9 o'clock in the morning.
My God, that was a good beer. That's a gorgeous beer. It's a really tasty beer. But it was served to you in a chalice. That was pretty funny.
And as TJ said, chalices are for kings.
I was wondering what that was that you were drinking. Okay, now I know.
A girly glass, and he corrected me. Chalices for kings. I said, well, thank you, TJ.
Wow.
Now off with your head.
All right.
That puts you in your place, Sam, with your pint of Irish muck.
I know. I felt very, very out of place. All right, well, look, I everything that I could have even thought about saying was trumped. I have no desire to say anything else. I'll save it for other shows. Kenny, thank you. And I guess I can go ahead and say, Kenny, not only just thank you, but get in there, son!
Thank you, Sammy. I appreciate that. And for the rest of you lot, be kind to one another, unless the other guy's wearing red.
Or royal blue. Wankers.